So here's the scenario. You are stranded with your vehicle somewhere, and whatever fire-making materials you have in the environment are poisonous to you. So either you can't use the trees because they're going to poison whatever you're going to cook on your fire, or you're using something like motor oil to start your fire, or even burning your spare tire in order to get a fire in the first place. Now, what you would have to do to be able to eat the food you cook on such a fire is you would have to cook it anaerobically. We do the same thing when we make char cloth for flint and steel fires. We can use something like a cake tin to cook our food anaerobically should the fire-making materials that we're using actually be poisonous to us. I'm Clarice, welcome to the Live Ready channel. So just because you've got fire-making materials doesn't mean you can necessarily use those materials to cook your food or boil your water. So over here I've got a bit of motor oil in a fish tin, and I'm just going to light it with a tissue. And that right there is a brilliant fire lighter, but it's not very good for me to cook my food over that and to eat whatever food I have from that. All right, so you can get a fire going here. Now, something as simple as a cake tin can be used to cook your food in the same way that you have a well-sealed tin to make char cloth in for flint and steel fires. You can use a well-sealed tin just to cook your food in. All right, so this is an ordinary cake tin that I found I think I found it at a second-hand store. It seals, but it's not completely sealed shut. So it will allow air out, which means that it's not a completely sealed system. The problem with a completely sealed system is it builds up pressure. So if you're going to, for example, boil water in a jerry can, you never close the lid of the jerry can because it's going to build pressure. Same thing here, it does seal, but it's not completely sealed. So it's going to allow air out. It's not going to allow air in, which is the important part for us in this video. We want all of the environmental air to remain outside of our cake tin, and we just want the cake tin to cook our food. So we're going to contain that heat, but we're not going to allow whatever poisonous molecules we have, maybe the wood is poisonous or something like that, to enter into our food. So why is it important to have this kind of knowledge? And in what scenario might we actually use this? So for example, if you're broken down in the middle of the desert and there's no wood around, you might need to burn your spare tire. Maybe you're in a survival situation in the snow, and the only thing that you've really got to make a fire with, to keep you warm, to boil water, to melt ice for yourself, or even to cook food, is maybe the spare tire or something from your vehicle that you've harvested from your vehicle, or something that you've harvested from the environment that you're just not 100% sure is going to be safe for you to cook on. Things like plastic. Plastic burns brilliantly. Oil burns great. Fuel burns great. Tires burn great. Rubber is a wonderful fire-making resource. The only problem is that, one, the smoke isn't good for us, and two, it's also not good for us to ingest anything that has been on that fire. So cooking food, melting ice, boiling water, that kind of thing is not really great on a fire where the materials are poisonous to you. Smoke's not great either. In survival, sometimes we need to just make do with what we've got, and what we have to make do with is not necessarily always ideal. So you can see how this fire is smoking at the moment. It actually looks terrible. Even Hunter is like, I'm not sitting close to that. And I can smell that it's an accelerant fire, that it is made with motor oil. You really can smell it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of sausage. The ideal thing to do would be to take your food and prepare it elsewhere. But for the sake of this video and the fact that it's just motor oil, it's okay. We're going to do this. So my sausage goes in the tin, and the tin closes. I did not make a hole in it. I know sometimes they say you must make a hole in whatever tin you're using to make char cloth. You don't have to make a hole in a tin to make char cloth. Does it smell nice? Okay, and simply put the tin on the fire. What we're looking for is for the heat to build up in there to the point where we have a cooking sausage, so it's hot enough for the sausage to cook. I might even burn it at this rate, but I don't want any air to enter into it. So I've sealed the tin off, sealed, and we're just going to give it a few minutes. So let's see, it's now 10 to 5. We'll see in maybe 10 or 20 minutes or so. 20 minutes might be too long at this rate, how the sausage looks in there. I might have to shake it up every now and then just to make sure it doesn't burn. About 2 minutes into cooking, I can actually hear it sizzling, and what I want to do is just give it a shake. You can see there's a bit of steam coming out the side, so I can tell that the sausage is actually cooking in there. It is a very hot fire and it's a very thin tin, and I don't want to burn the sausage, so I might actually just spread my fire out a little bit and see if I can't cool it down a bit. But what's nice is that you can see the steam coming out of the tin, and that shows us that there is actually something happening in there. When you're making char cloth, you'll find that the char cloth causes a flame to come out the side there where the steam is coming out. And the reason for that is that when you're burning fabric, or when you're processing fabric to be char cloth, the chemicals that come off of that fabric that's used to make the fabric in the first place, those chemicals catch alight as they come out. And it's also the reason why you don't open the tin immediately after you've made char cloth, is because if you open it, there's so much heat on the inside. Whatever you've made in there is just going to spontaneously combust the minute you expose it to oxygen. So in this case, we're just giving it a couple of quick flips on the inside of the tin. You can hear it, it's actually quite amazing. In order to keep it from burning, I'm just going to move a few logs over here, and it can cook in this heat. Sizzling. We've been cooking for 5 minutes, and I've moved it across here just so that it doesn't burn, because that was a bit hot. Because it's not fabric, it's not going to spontaneously combust the moment I take it off of the fire and open it up, even if it's hot. So let's have a look and see. Oh, that's looking good. I don't think that it's completely cooked yet. I'll give it another minute or so in here. But if I was trying to cook something on a tire, or I was cooking something on poisonous wood, this would be perfectly fine. I mean, I could possibly even bake a bread in here or something like that. It's quite funny. And if you still don't understand how this works, the air on the inside of the tin is going to heat up because of the heat that it's exposed to. Because it expands, it's going to push out of the tin, and nothing's going to be able to come into the tin. So I'm still not getting any of the surrounding air or of the fumes of my fire in my tin. And I can hear the sausage sizzling, and I'm pretty sure that it's done now. So let's have a look. If you're making char cloth, you usually would leave the tin to cool down completely. And you can do that if you are, for example, out in the bush, and maybe you don't want the smell of your food to alert someone to your presence. Maybe you're cooking on a gas flame and you can't smell a wood fire, and you just want to remain concealed. You can use this as a method to remain concealed as well, because the smell from your food is not going to be emitted to the environment as much as it usually would be. And if you weren't making fire with wood, maybe you're using gas, the smell of your campfire is also not going to alert someone to your presence in the bush. So it's a more, let's say, concealed and less obvious way to cook food when you want to remain concealed. Maybe you're doing a stealth camp, or you just want to, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, remain concealed. All right, let's see how the sausage is looking. I'm not using my boot. Oh, looks beautiful. And it smells divine as well. So what I was saying is, if you wanted to remain concealed, then wait another 20 minutes or so until the tin has completely cooled down, because immediately after opening this, the smell of the food is so much more noticeable. So if I wanted to not alarm someone to my presence, then I would let this cool down a little while longer before I actually open the tin, because then you don't smell as much of the food. But it smells delicious, actually. So yeah, my sausage has cooked really well. I hope that it's cooked completely through. I think so. Let's bring it over here. All right, so my sausage can come out. That's that over there. And my blade is clean. It's actually just the patina on the blade by now. There, perfectly cooked sausage. Maybe even almost a little overcooked in here. But then again, who really cooks sausage in a tin on the fire? And that is perfectly edible, despite my having cooked it on a fire that was made with motor oil. And it doesn't taste like braai sausage, but it's fine. Here, boy, you want a piece? Good boy. Yep. Good boy. If I'll feed it to my dog, I must know that it's perfectly fine to eat. All right, so let's replace the sausage with a braaibroodjie. So my sandwich goes in the tin. And to all the foreigners who are asking what is a braaibroodjie, it is literally a sandwich that you cook on the fire because it makes it 100 times more epic. You should try it. Usually just a bit of tomato and cheese, onion. Onion's not good for dogs. Yeah, so we've left the onion for you. But it just also cooks in a tin. It's absolutely unnecessary to cook a sandwich on the fire. It just makes it that much nicer. So yeah, so braaibroodjie on the fire. I actually think that I should put a log on the side. And again, I can see the steam coming out of the side of the tin, so I know that it's cooking. And I'm just gonna keep turning my tin so I don't burn my food, because nobody wants to be in a survival situation and have burnt food. All right, let's see how that went. For sandwiches, because they cook real quick, you don't want to overcook them or let them burn. Oh, did come undone, but hang on, let me get this off. Oh, would have thought that the sausage fat would have helped that one a little bit. Okay, not too bad, still not for you. Put it back on. There we go, toasty. Okay, so it's just about time for this to come off. We can have a look at what it looks like. I think it might be a little sloppy judging from the halfway check. It's not all bad. It is a toasty sandwich that's in there. Got some burnt bits on there, and I think it might be a little bit less than firm. Yeah, it is as well. All right, so for a sandwich cooked in a tin, that does actually not look half bad. And if anything that I had used to make my fire with was going to be poisonous to me, this is still going to be perfectly edible. It is pap, but I think it's because it retained all of the moisture. If you found value here and you like this video, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the bell notification button so that you know every time I post a new video. Check out my social media pages, and special thanks to my Patreon fans for making all of these videos possible. And until the next time, live ready.